This is a case study on knowing me, an infant with acquired torticollis, presented by Lakeisha Tabana. Torticollis, also known as wry neck or head neck dystonia, is characterized as an asymmetrical rotational tilt of the neck, often associated with contracted muscles. Torticollis can be present at birth or develop after birth. Torticollis must be clinically diagnosed to rule out neurological involvement. Two concerns for an infant diagnosed with torticollis include decreased exploratory play, which may result in delayed motor development. Children develop sensory motor communication and social skills through environmental interactions. Characteristics of torticollis impede the motoric skills necessary to visually attend to and explore items within the environment, which limits exposure to learning through play and social interaction with caregivers. The inability to visually attend or elicit motoric responses to auditory stimuli significantly limits social engagement. Another concern is the associated motor limitation, including head and neck range of motion, muscle weakness, and maladaptive hip alignment. Subsequent muscle weakness and range of motion limitations can lead to difficulty with eating, including latching for infants who are breastfeeding and holding the bottle when it is developmentally appropriate. Early intervention is considered a strength for infants with torticollis whose parents seek help for identified loss of function. This increases positive outcome measures by 90 to 97%. Seeking early intervention provides medical remediation, educational opportunities, and therapeutic interventions that will improve Noni's occupational performance. Another strength is the ability that Noni has to learn and develop with increased caregiver and environmental interactions. Interventions that include active range of motion through developmentally appropriate activity engagement aid in the prevention of long-term musculoskeletal malformity and subsequent developmental delays. OT practitioners apply evidence-based therapeutic interventions in the treatment of torticollis, guided by identified frames of reference. Skills in identification of appropriate frames of reference facilitates optimal functional outcomes that improve occupational performance and thus overall. Occupational therapists use norm-reference standardized assessments to identify barriers and enablers in functional engagement that guide intervention planning. The Pediatric Evaluation of Disability Inventory Computer Adaptive Test, the PEDICAT, is a top-down assessment that may be used to assess participation and measure engagements in infants. It is used to evaluate functional abilities across different age groups from birth to age 20. This tool aids in identifying delays and motor progress throughout the OT intervention. With its mobility, social skills, and occupational engagement measures, it can help determine the most appropriate interventions for infants with torticollis. In particular, the mobility section of the PEDICAT evaluates gross physical movement abilities such as rolling, sitting, falling, and walking, all of which are domains impacted by torticollis that may hinder age-appropriate occupational engagement. Another assessment is the Peabody Developmental Motor Scales, the PDMS. It is a bottom-down assessment that may be used to measure body function and body structures. It is designed to assess the motor development of children from birth to 5 years old. It measures interrelated motor abilities that develop early in life and consists of 5 core and 1 supplemental subtest. The body control subtest measures the child's ability to control their body within its center of gravity and retain equilibrium. Object control measures the ability to coordinate motor movements that require perception and movement. Body transport measures the ability to propel the body from one location to another, while hand manipulation measures the ability to move the hands and fingers to complete tasks. Eye-hand coordination measures the ability to interpret visual stimuli in coordination with hand and finger movements. And the supplemental subtest measures physical fitness through activities such as push-ups, sit-ups, and running speed. This assessment helps occupational therapists identify areas of gross and fine motor delays that may affect a child's occupational engagement. Identifying NONI's gross and fine motor delays would be helpful in intervention planning for torticollis, as it would enable the targeting of specific functional deficits that may affect her occupational engagement. Occupational therapists develop a client's occupational profile, identify a frame of reference, and assess to develop evidence-based client interventions. Functional problem statements are used to understand how deficits impact a client's occupational engagement. For NONI, two problem statements have been developed to guide treatment planning. They state, number one, NONI is unable to engage in exploratory play due to decreased mobility in rolling, crawling, and unsupported sitting. Number two, NONI is unable to engage in self-feeding due to muscle weakness of the right lateral neck flexors and diminished cervical range of motion. I hope this adds to your insight into the OT process as it relates to an infant with torticollis. Thank you for watching.